hair loss. You know it sucks. So why not join the boys to bitch about it? Call in now to speak with Spencer and Specs. 0203-3724-683. This is The Bald Truth UK.
The hair loss is getting much worse recently. And so I started on the meds about a year ago and came across the Ape to Gentleman article. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I'm very aware of it. It killed. Specs crushed with that article.
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved it. It was. Do you know what? It was. I've got to say, I think it was a bit of a lifesaver for me because I had to work down in London, and you talk to people, and I've met a number of guys who've flown off to Turkey, and everyone's got a mate who's flown off to Turkey to get transplant surgery done, and I was going to be that guy, and I've been saving up a few pennies to do it, and I came across the article, and I read about the IAHRS, and it just made me stop and think, because I was definitely just jumping in with both feet.
Now I'm gonna let Spec speak to this, but I mean, the reality is, and it is, we don't, and I think that the physicians in this field, and even some of the people who are out there, don't understand that the power and the fact that being able to get this type of content, real education out to the mainstream media, to the masses, is invaluable for everyone who's involved. And the fact that it essentially led you in a much safer direction. Listen, surgery is surgery. You never know what the end result is going to be, no matter who you go to. But the reality is, at the very least, Specs was able to guide you in a much safer direction.
Oh, 100%. Not only did the article open my eyes, it led me to your show. It led me to Specs. So as I say, it was a wee bit of a lifesaver, because I was on the brink of booking a holiday to Turkey.
Jesus, man. Specs, you saved another life, man.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, that's brilliant. Obviously, we've spoken via email as a result of you finding the article, which is the top 20 hair transplant surgeons in the world, which I wrote for Ape to Gentleman, which, who anybody isn't familiar with it, is the most prolific male grooming blog in the UK, and I think it's in the top 3 in the world. So the article, I was very fortunate. I write blogs for them. I'm their in-house kind of hair loss guru, and I've written several articles for Ape to Gentleman. But this particular one certainly caused a stir, but at the same time, it was a very hard-hitting, honest, truthful, in my opinion, account of the industry, and to get it in front of so many people, the demographic, with it being a male grooming blog, enable people to get informed and empowered with regards to hair loss and the hair transplant industry. Because as you have just mentioned, Doug, it's like there are countless guys who have got a mate who went to Turkey, and I see it all the time. Spence sees it all the time. And what the article enabled me to do, I got a proposition by Ape to write an article, top 5 hair transplant doctors in the world. And I said, hold the phone. We're not going to be able to home it down to top 5. Top 20 is even difficult, There's a lot more doctors I could have put on there. And it was only my opinion at the end of the day. But it's great and interesting to know that you are one of many that I've spoken to and Spencer's spoken to with regards to this article that is out there. And I believe in the first month it had over 1 million views. So we've been able to empower a lot of people. And within that article, it does refer to the Bald Truth, to Joe Tillman, to the IAHRS, because every surgeon that is on that list is a member of the IAHRS, whether a full member or an associate member. And I I felt it was a punt putting it out there, but I know now it was absolutely the right thing to do because I know how many people it has helped and it has protected from making an uninformed decision, because I deal with so many people on a daily basis who make uninformed decisions and end up being... Go on, Spencer.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but here's the reality. There were several doctors who contacted me who were irate that they weren't somehow included in this list, which was obviously very limiting. It was just your opinion. You were asked to provide the top 20 in your opinion, people who you may have go to yourself. But the reality is, I think every member of the IHRS and everywhere else should be like, wait a second, this is a very empowering piece of content that's out there in the mainstream media. We are, or Specs is, really helping to guide people in the right direction. It only helps the entire good guys, all the good guys in the field. But
but it dented too many people's egos that weren't on the list. And, and it was only my opinion. And, they're entitled to their opinion. And as you well know, there was one particular surgeon that took it to the extreme, and the fact that he wasn't on it, and it was a reflection on him more than anybody. And just,
I had a guy, and I don't know if this is the guy you're talking about, who actually called me, confused us because we were both named Spencer, and said to me, hey, "How on earth can you separate, the top 20 from the rest of your IHRS members?" I've been doing this for this long. I've been doing this for this long. I no longer feel comfortable supporting and being a part of the IHRS. And I was like, you might want to read the byline of the article and realize, A, I didn't write that. And B, honestly, I work with, I believe, the best group of physicians in the world. It would be professional suicide for me to try to separate them into different categories.
Completely.
So I thought that was, it was very telling, but it did show that there's so much ego involved, even amongst the best doctors in the world. Instead of, being one for all and all for one, and having a caller like this call in and say, look, this article saved my life.
And that's the point of the article. And this is why it's fantastic that Doug's called the show, because that shows that the article was done for the right reasons, to empower the hair loss sufferer. It wasn't to do with doctors' egos. And we are in the business of protecting patients in this crazy industry. And I can't wait to write the next article for 80 Gentlemen, the 2019 edition of the top 20 hair transplant surgeons that are going to empower even more people. That includes not just about the top list. It broke down the industry and the reasons why I wrote the article, which is essentially the reason why Doug is calling. So, Doug, with regards to you, it's brilliant that you saw it, but tell us a little bit more about, obviously, the confusion that lies within making a decision regarding a hair transplant. Nobody gets that better than Spence and I, obviously, because there are so many different variables in terms of influences on you: Facebook ads, discounted offers, Groupon deals, the mate that went to Turkey or the mate's mate that went to Turkey. So tell us about how you found the article, and then as a result of reading that article by chance, where are you at now in your research process with regards to hair transplantation?
So I found the article. I'm aware of 80 Gentlemen anyway. I like nice clothes, and where I'm from, there's not many good shops. So, and you feel a bit disconnected from stuff. And strangely, it wasn't that I just stumbled upon it. Again, it was a friend that mentioned the article, and being aware of the blog, I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. I think what you were touching upon there is about. I mean, I was in a desperate situation. I was sort of, it's hard to articulate it, but I was just snatching at a quick fix. And to me, Turkey was like, this is going to be easy. I fly out to Turkey, I get this sorted, that's my hair sorted. Because I'm sure you're both aware that you get, it was keeping me awake at night. I was stressed out, and it just seemed like, okay, look, this isn't too expensive, and it seems pretty easy, and I've got mates that have gone and done it. As soon as I read the article, it just put the brakes on, where I was almost in like fight or flight mode. It was like I'm going to Turkey, that'll fix it. It was almost like denial, if you like. And so when I read the article, it was like, whoa, take a second here, have a think about what you're doing. And when I did have that moment to stop and think, it became very clear that I needed to do more research. So, yeah, on to the next question. I then came across you and The Bald Truth, the radio show, so I've listened into that and had a few emails with you, Specs, as well, which has really helped. I mean, I didn't even know what, how to categorize my hair loss, and since, chatting with you, I know that it's Norwood too, and I know that I need to save more money because finances are an issue, but at the same time, I'm not in as much of a rush. I'm far more concerned with taking the right steps. And that is still an ongoing process. I
don't mean to cut you off, but that's the reality. That's the reality of and the importance of what a guy like Specs does, what we do through The Bald Truth, and why we have all kind of been working kind of in tandem. Specs does his thing. He is the guy in the UK. I've been doing this for over almost 22 years here in the U.S. We are now global, and we're getting the information out there in a much bigger way than we ever have been able to in the past. With that said, I think the reason it's so palatable to guys like you is because it's coming from real guys. It's coming from guys who are not trying to sell you anything. It's coming from guys who have been through the process or who are in the game, who know where all the bodies are buried, and who are willing to tell the truth. Sadly, most physicians, even if they are good physicians, feel that it is almost some sort of a professional betrayal to actually provide full disclosure about everything that happens in this field, even the bad stuff. So, we're in a position where we don't have to play by those rules, and we're able to get this information out to guys like yourself.